Hello?
Hey there, this is Lou Hudson.
Hi, it's Brian with the gravy guy. Right now you're off in the house. Do you want to be do you want to be turned on there, or you want me to wait?
Yeah, they should be coming your way now, so I'll go on mute and they'll get started here in a few minutes.
All right, I'll enable you in the house and have a meeting.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. And actually, sir, I'm sorry to bother you. You're not in the venue at this point. If you're near YouTube and you're watching the video, please make sure that that computer audio is all the way down and use only your phone. Thank you.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Do I have a motion to certify closed session that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Guthrie. And Ms. Osborne, please call the roll.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
And Mr. Hudson? If he's-
Yes.
7 in favor.
Do I have a motion to long-term suspend student A?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
No.
Dr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
No.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
5 in favor, 2 opposed. Motion passes.
Before we move on with our meeting, I would like to pause for a brief moment of silence in recognition of an MCPS employee who passed away suddenly this weekend. Thank you. Our student representatives tonight are Mallory Akers from Auburn High School and Marina Lee from Blacksburg High School. Will you please read our mission and belief statement?
Our mission is MCPS is an innovative educational community. We value diversity and we are committed to equity and inclusion. MCPS empowers learners to realize success in an ever-changing global society through collaboration with communities, families, staff, and students. MCPS provides a safe, engaging learning environment and intentional exposure to positive social, emotional, and academic experiences.
Our beliefs are all students can learn in order to pursue their dreams. Schools are safe places of joy, wonder, and creativity. Every person deserves to be loved, valued, and respected. Kindness is an essential skill of a responsible, productive community member. The diversity of our community is one of our greatest strengths. All people deserve equitable access to opportunities and resources. Every child deserves an advocate. Honoring the voices of students and other stakeholders strengthens the school community.
Open communication and feedback are vital to our growth. Learning and teaching are collective efforts that begin at birth and involve the entire community. Relationship building and high expectations are foundational to student success.
Thank you so much. Our next item of business is student representative reports. Mallory, do you have a report from Auburn High School?
Yes, I do. Okay, so I'm going to start off with Miss Parton. Her last day will be Friday of this week. She graduated from Auburn and has worked for 17 years at Auburn. She always brought a smile to every student's face and anybody's face that walked through the door every single day, and we were thankful to have her and wishing her the best of luck in her new beginnings. On February 6th, our academic and career planning night will start at 6 p.m. Drew Royal, he scored his 1,000th point in the basketball game the other night. Nick Shepard, he won the award for Voice of Democracy and won a prize of $200. Journalism, they created a weekly podcast called The Nick and Josh Show, and you can find that on YouTube if you'd like to watch. Our choir are having audition for all district. 10th grade attended Career Quest. Spring sports start on February 24th. Indoor track competes for region and state championship at the end of February and the beginning of March, and Kobe Bonds threw shot put past the 60-yard mark, and that is a school record. Our MAC team is starting off to a strong start. Our daily attendance average is more than 95% a day. At the semester break, only 2% of students have been chronically absent. For the 2025 Staff Employee of the Year, it was Miss Beverly Wimmer. She is our cafeteria manager, and she's always made students a priority, and she insisted her staff be recognized as well because there was no way she could have done it without them. She's always tried to engage in students and try to keep up with their lives and just asking them questions just to try to make their day better. Our FFA is having a fundraiser, and they are selling strawberries straight from Florida, and orders can be placed by an FFA member or by emailing Kimberly Smith. The orders are due February 18th, and they arrive the week of March 3rd.
Marina, do you have a report from Blacksburg High School?
Yeah. So Blacksburg High School held the Academic and Career Planning Night last Monday evening, allowing students to begin selecting courses for the 2025 to 26 school year. BHS conducted a hazing prevention assembly for 9th and 10th grade students as part of the health and PE curriculum. Tomorrow, Dr. Brem from Virginia Tech will speak to all students about dating violence and provide valuable resources. We had 7 students recognized as Gold Key winners and 13 students awarded Silver Keys in the 2025 Scholastic Art Awards for Southwest Virginia. 18 students received honorable mentions for their artwork. The Scholastic Bowl team will compete in the Super Region Tournament on Saturday, February 8th at Blacksburg High School, aiming to defend their state championship title from last year. The Winter Sports Pep Rally will be held on Tuesday, the 11th, to honor our athletes and build excitement for the second Battle of the Bergs basketball game that evening. Girls varsity game will start at 5:30, followed by the boys varsity game. And then also on the 11th, we're hosting the regional swim and dive meet, and the indoor track team will compete in the region meet on the 17th at Shenandoah University.
Thank you so much, Mallory and Marina. So now, Dr. Barbara Wickham, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, will recognize the 2024-2025 Teachers of the Year. This is a recognition and no action is required.
Good evening, members of the board. All public and accredited non-public schools are invited to participate in the Virginia Teacher of the Year program to select and to honor teachers who represent the best in teaching in the Commonwealth of Virginia and the nation. The program is open to all teachers in pre-kindergarten through grade 12, including school librarians, school counselors, and reading specialists. Candidates must be dedicated, knowledgeable, and skilled, and plan to continue in an active teaching status. The program provides school divisions the opportunity to recognize outstanding teachers and to focus positive public attention on education and the teaching profession. The Regional and Virginia Teachers of the Year will be announced in the spring of 2025, which will give the Virginia Teacher of the Year more time to prepare for the national level application process. We are pleased to announce Montgomery County's Teachers of the Year for each school at this time. Joining us will be Mr. Patrick Moran from Horace Mann, who provides beautiful glass apples for our teachers. Our Teachers of the Year by school are, and when I call your name, if you would come forward, please, and if you have guests with you, they may come and take pictures as well. From Auburn Elementary School, Courtney Hall, kindergarten teacher. From Bellevue Elementary School, Gretchen Neinstein, 5th grade teacher, and she couldn't be with us this evening. From Christiansburg Primary School, Jamie Perkovich, school counselor. Christiansburg Elementary School, Justin Carter, third grade teacher. Eastmont Elementary School, first grade teacher Lori Linkus. Falling Branch Elementary School, art teacher Maggie Maloney. Gilbert Linkus Elementary School, kindergarten teacher Natalie Rasher. Harding Avenue, fifth grade teacher Angie Johnson. Kipps Elementary School, third grade teacher Monica Walters. Margaret Beeks Elementary School, STEM teacher Elizabeth Larson. Our next teacher couldn't be here this evening. Price's Fork Elementary School music teacher Eric Young. Blacksburg Middle School 8th grade civics teacher Ryan Wade. Our next teacher couldn't be here this evening. Christiansburg Middle School 6th grade math, Amy Brell. And our next teacher, she and a group of students are representing SMS at the Virginia State Junior Beta Convention in Hampton. Anna Drew, Life Science and Advanced Science from Shawsville Middle School. From Auburn High School, World History, Virginia U.S. History, Jenny Ray. Our next teacher couldn't be here this evening. Special education teacher, Blacksburg High School, Luke Moran. From Christiansburg High School, marketing teacher, Cameron Harris Gilliam. From Eastmont High School, special education teacher, Brittany Hawley. And our next teacher couldn't join us this evening. From Montgomery Central, teaches social studies, Tyler Helzer-Sauer. Virginia Division Superintendents are invited to nominate one teacher for state-level recognition. These nominees will then be considered for Regional Teacher of the Year awards, and the Virginia Teacher of the Year will be selected from among those 8 Regional Teachers of the Year. Our Division Teacher of the Year has submitted a portfolio to the Virginia Department of Education for consideration. His principal, Miss Marshall, shared the following information about our Teacher of the Year. He's done so much for our school. He's done rocket launches. He's connected with NASA. He's brought in moon rocks. He just brings it all. He's a phenomenal teacher. One of our MCPS beliefs in our strategic plan is that schools are safe places of joy, wonder, and creativity. That is what you will find in our Teacher of the Year's classroom. It is my honor to introduce our Montgomery County Public Schools Teacher of the Year, who teaches tech ed and robotics at Auburn Middle School, Mr. Philip Ashby. Thank you.
Now we get to move on to another celebration, our Seniors of the Month. Dr. Lori Comer, Director of Secondary Education, will start our presentation for Seniors of the Month. This is a presentation, no action is required.
Good evening, Madam Vice Chair, school board members, and Dr. Bragan. We are proud to celebrate the remarkable accomplishments of an outstanding senior from each of our 4 high schools. These students embody leadership, resilience, and dedication, making a lasting impact on their school community. Their profiles, showcased here and in the central office lobby, highlight their unique talents, aspirations, and accomplishments. You'll hear reflections from the teachers and the administrators who nominated them, recognizing their hard work and their character. These exceptional students represent the best of our schools, supported by the unwavering encouragement of their families and educators. Each school administrator will come forward and present them in the following order. Mr. Hurd, Principal of Auburn High School, Mr. Stewart, principal at Blacksburg High, Mr. Shane Gwynn, principal at Christiansburg High, and Mr. Matt McDaniel, the assistant principal at Eastern Montgomery School. Mr. Hurd.
Good evening. I'd like to introduce the February Senior of the Month for Auburn High School. If Isabel Price and her family can join me at the front. The February Senior of the Month for Auburn High School is Isabel Price. Izzy has gotten the absolute most out of high school a student can. She's been the president of the National Honor Society, the Beta Club, and editor of the yearbook. She's attended Girls State and will obtain her associate's degree. She's participated in many other clubs and been on the varsity tennis team. Her academics are top-notch as well. A teacher said of her, Izzy Price is a remarkable young woman whose maturity and drive are in contrast to many of her peers. Izzy has wrung every opportunity and challenge from her high school experience, from holding leadership positions, including senior class president and editor-in-chief of the yearbook for 2 years running. She's taken a full slate of DE classes. She's done it all. Not only is she involved, but in every situation, she is driven to push herself to excel. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Izzy is that despite her focus and engagement, she never takes herself too seriously. As a result, she's liked and respected by her peers as well as the faculty and staff. She is also a member of the last world history class I taught. AHS is very proud that she's one of ours, and she will represent us well as she pursues a 4-year degree in business and then her MBA to follow. Senior of the Month for February is Izzy Price.
Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Bragan, it is my pleasure to present to you Blacksburg High School Senior of the Month. This evening, I'd like to recognize Max Bebo as the February Senior of the Month. Max is here with their family. I'd like to invite them to come up and join me. I'd like to read a brief statement from one of Max's teachers. Max has a raw, natural, artistic talent that shines through each of their pieces. Their attention to detail and advanced grasp of artistic techniques allow them to create inspiring artwork. Perhaps more important than their natural talent is the effort Max puts into developing interesting and innovative ideas. They continuously challenge themselves to develop creative solutions, experiment with ambitious concepts, and follow what is seemingly a constant flow of ideas they want to investigate. It is worth noting that they continuously rise to meet those challenges. Max's work ethic, positive attitude, and focus, along with their advanced skill and knowledge, have made them a valuable resource for classmates and a terrific asset to my class and our school community at large. Congratulations, Max.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Bragan, and student representatives. It is my pleasure to introduce the February Senior of the Month for Christiansburg High School, Miss Alexandria Swinson. I would like to ask Allie and her family to please come forward at this time. When asking one of her teachers to describe Allie, she said, Allie is a remarkable student whose dedication, leadership, and passion for learning have left a lasting impact on our school community. She exemplifies what it means to be a well-rounded student, excelling academically while also giving back through leadership and service. She is brilliant, selfless, hardworking, and possesses an exemplary spirit. Allie's commitment to excellence is evident in every aspect of her involvement at CHS. She has continuously stepped up to lead, inspire, and support her peers, along with displaying a willingness to volunteer for almost any opportunity that comes her way. Allie is not just an outstanding student, she is a leader, a role model, and someone who truly embodies the core values of CHS. Her kindness, determination, and dedication to everything she pursues makes her incredibly deserving of this recognition. I have no doubt that Allie will continue to accomplish great things. Allie plans to continue her education at a 4-year university with a major in environmental sciences and a minor in physics and philosophy with a possible pre-law track. Good luck with all that. So afterwards, she hopes to attend graduate school and law school to become an environmental lawyer and conservationist. Congrats, Allie.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Bragan, student reps. Tonight I have the pleasure of recognizing 2 amazing seniors from Eastern Montgomery High School. First, I'd like to invite Waylon Richmond and his family to the front. Waylon is our Senior of the Month from January. I'd like to read a quote from Mr. Beacon, our MAC team coach. Waylon Richmond is an outstanding young man and scholar at Eastern Montgomery High School. He is a dedicated member of the highly decorated cross-country and track programs at EMHS. Waylon also serves as a captain for our EMHS Scholastic Bowl team, as well as a captain for our social studies and all-around MAC teams. He has an outstanding memory and has an unflappable approach to competition. He has helped lead the Scholastic Bowl team to back-to-back Pioneer District regular season championships and helped the team qualify for and compete in the Small School National Championship Tournament in Chicago during his junior year. Waylon plans to attend Virginia Tech to study animal poultry science to become a veterinarian or criminology to go into law enforcement. Please join me in congratulating Waylon. Next, I'd like to introduce our February Senior of the Month is Olivia Wilbon. I'd like to invite her and her family to come forward. I'd like to read a quote from her English teacher, Miss Howard. I've loved watching Olivia grow and come into herself over the last 4 years, learning about who she is at her core and as a leader, community member, and friend. I'm not sure there is a club or organization that she does not have a hand in, both in and out of school. Organized, go-getter, ambitious, motivated. These words truly don't do justice to the level of commitment and energy that Olivia gives to the school. From her positions with the SGA to her time that she gives to the track and cross-country team. She has competed at state levels in Future Business Leaders of America competitions and a national level at Scholastic Bowl. Additionally, outside of school, she has written for the community local newspaper and newsletter, volunteered at STEM camps in the summertime, and is active in her church and local library. Small towns such as Elliston and Shawsville, Virginia, are truly held together by the people who are willing to help each other, get to know each other, support one another, and maintain community values. Olivia does exactly this. Olivia plans to attend a 4-year university and major in communication science or disorders or neuroscience, and to pursue a career in speech pathology. Join me in congratulating Olivia.
The board will now take a break to thank our honorees for being here today. Our next agenda item is public address. We welcome the opportunity to hear from students, parents, employees, and community members about education matters in this community. As a reminder, the board sets aside 30 minutes to start our public address. We have the option to extend in 30-minute increments, which Ms. Osborne will remind us of. If there are additional speakers after 90 minutes, the board will continue with their business meeting and hold one additional 30-minute session at the end of the business meeting. The clock continues through applause and disruptions. The more disruptions there are, the fewer speakers who get to address the board. I will call each speaker up by name in the order that they signed up. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board. The board does not respond to speakers during public address. The screens will show when the speaker has 30 seconds remaining and when time is up. Our first speaker, please state your name and the area of the county that you live in. The first speaker is Michael Sanborn, followed by Christopher King.
Good evening. I'm Michael Sanborn. I'm a resident of Christiansburg. I'm a Christian and a member of the NAACP, and I recognize that both these identities inform my understandings. And I want to first of all thank you for your commitment and to the work of the school board, and I can only imagine the time and effort that you give to your part in the well-being of the school system. The school board recently presented data revealing disparities that have a negative impact on the life of the school system at large. That there are disparities should give no surprise when there is the realization of the need for a hate speech policy. Giving even tacit approval for hate speech to have a place in the culture of the school is wrong. We are to recognize it will take a serious and disciplined effort on everyone's part to relieve the tension of those disparities in which hate speech plays a real part. I submit the solution involves all interests to first of all be in agreement that the disparities exist and that the hate speech adds to them, and that they are a challenge to how a well-functioning school board and school system works. As it is your combined effort to be a beacon of hope and promise to all the students, then you must together discover a path of oneness that can bring superiority and high achievement to the county schools. Any other environment will only reveal a structure in continued decline, which I submit is evident in the data you, the school board, have presented. The work to overcome a negative culture is not easy, and for a time will cause increased dis-ease. However, as your goal is greatness and success for your students, then it is work that must happen. It is not an option to hide behind attempts at disinformation and denial. It really is that when people work together for the common good, that the joy of what you do is revealed. Thank you for all your efforts to do the best you can, and you have made a difference. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanborn. Our next speaker is Christopher King, followed by Sally Walker.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Bragan. My name is Christopher King, and I'm in the Christiansburg School District. I wanted to bring you guys up to speed on an incident that happened with my son on December the 6th, 2024. On December 6, 2024, I received a call from the principal at Christiansburg Elementary School. After she verified my identity, she explained that my son was okay. As a parent, obviously, you wonder what happens to your child. What she explained was that while my son's third grade class was eating lunch that day, another student told my son that he was going to pull a loaded gun on him. My son immediately went to the cafeteria attendant. The school principal informed me that a threat assessment was done by the school and the school resource officer. When I asked what steps this threat assessment included, they explained that it consisted of calling the parents of this individual and verifying that there is no access to firearms, etc. When I asked what the punishment for something of this magnitude was, I was informed that the student would be given an assigned seat at a different table for lunch and separated in the classroom. I attempted to find out if this student was still in class with my son, to which I understand could not be disclosed. I went to school to check my son out shortly thereafter. When I picked my son up, I found out that this individual was still in the classroom with my son. He came right back into that classroom and sat near my son. When I asked my son what should be the punishment for something like this to happen, he felt like he should be sent home from school and maybe not be able to go back to school for a few days. I asked him if he was scared, and he said no, he wasn't scared, but he was worried. That's pretty interesting coming from a third grader. What I found most interesting in this situation is that a threat such as this resulted in a phone call to a parent to conduct this threat assessment. I can assure you that when I was a student in Montgomery County Public Schools, I did a lot less, and my mom had to come to school for those meetings. Trust me, I understand that. Another interesting piece to this puzzle is later on that day, Christiansburg Elementary School had a winter dance. So several students, were asked to leave this dance by the principal and the school resource officer. So what I would like to know is, how can a threat of that magnitude not require somebody to be sent home? However, at an elementary school dance, students get sent home. So in a letter from the superintendent, it states, all students and members of our school community deserve to feel safe. It is on all of us to work together to prevent firearm violence and to avoid the harm and tragedy that shootings of any kind can cause in the spaces in which we live, learn, work, and play. So again, the question I pose to you guys, if a threat to pull a loaded gun on a student does not require a student to be sent home, what kind of behavior can require students to be kicked out of the elementary school dance? Having served in law enforcement for over 17 years, I recognize the importance of keeping a safe environment and the value of threat assessments. This is not anything that anybody should take lightly. I do want to commend Sheriff Parton and all of the other law enforcement agency leaders in the county for making sure that there is a school resource officer in every school. And lastly,
I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Sally Walker, followed by Deborah Travis.
Hello, my name is Sally Walker and I live in Blacksburg. I have 2 sons who go to KIPS. Thank you for all your hard work, especially regarding equity and inclusion, which is reflected strongly and repeatedly in the MCPS mission statement. I'm grateful for the thought you put into the hate speech policy. I appreciate a policy that has clear lines of action where each individual school has trained staff members in diversity and inclusion training. I believe in the need for trauma counseling to be available in each school for affected students as individuals. I'm proud of the fact that MCPS has an Office of Equity and Diversity. I heard Ms. Stacy Wright speak a couple weeks ago, and I was horrified to learn that there have been more hate speech types of incidents reported to her in the first 2 months of this school year than all of last year. Alarmingly, I have a friend resigning from teaching at MCPS school because she experienced even other teachers within her school mock some of her students with disabilities. I see clearly now the need for more student and community support and inclusivity. I want to see a culture at MCPS that approaches this proactively in each grade. Besides a hate speech policy with a clear roadmap for actions following incidents, I support a more proactive approach through diversity, inclusion, and implicit bias programs for students, staff, and parents. I see the bravery it takes for the students who have experienced racial and gender hate speech to continue to come to our schools each day. I also see the courage and growth possible for those who cause trauma to become fully aware of the depth of their actions through impactful diversity counseling and restorative responsibilities. Uncomfortable though it may be in the short run, I feel that definitive boundaries in something like our hate speech policy show what we won't tolerate as a student body, as a school body. It can only make for stronger students and those better equipped for what's to come after graduation, regardless of demographic and upbringing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Our next speaker is Deborah Travis, followed by Judy Barilski.
Dr. Brayton and the school board, Good afternoon. I'm Deborah Travis, and I live in the town of Christiansburg. I'm the president of the Montgomery County, Rapid City, Floyd County branch of the NAACP, and our mission overall is to achieve equity, political rights, social inclusion by advancing policies and practices that expand human and civil rights, eliminate discrimination, and accelerate the well-being, education, and economic security of Black people and all persons of color. Keeping the well-being of our students in Montgomery County in mind, we must ensure that we are providing an inclusive, supportive environment for them to learn and grow. Over the years, we have worked with community and other local organizations to advocate for our students and teachers so that they can have a full learning and teaching environment that embraces equity and fairness, thus promoting educational excellence. Recently, our branch has received an increased number of reports of derogatory, racially charged language towards our Black students and other students of color in the Montgomery County Public Schools. This is intolerable and unacceptable as it results in great harm to those who are the direct recipients of these remarks, as well as to bystanders and to the entire school community. Therefore, we welcome and support the hate speech policy that you, the board, approved on January 21st. Though it's long overdue, it is a very important step, and we thank you for taking it. We know, however, that a policy is only effective if there is a consistent and sustained implementation of the policy. So we and the community look forward to receiving reports from our superintendent that demonstrate in specific detail that the policy is being implemented in an effective, consistent, and sustainable manner. Providing this, we will ensure that our students feel that they are being heard, they are supported, and that they can trust that their well-being is priority. We and our local community partners will continue to monitor the situation, and we do look forward to open communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Travis. Our next speaker is Judy Barilski, followed by Anna Dalton.
Good evening, Vice Chair Purcell, members of the school board, Superintendent Bregan, and student school board representatives. My name is Judy Barilski, and I live in Blacksburg. I appreciate the consideration you gave to suggestions by the community and each other, and the subsequent policy changes you made at the January 21st meeting. Specifically, thank you for the addition of race to the list of individuals and groups included in the definition of hate speech, and the inclusion of a statement regarding the impact of hate speech on targeted students to be added to the policy introduction. Also, thank you for adding the opportunity for parents to report hate speech and staff training on racial trauma to support students individually impacted by hate speech. I understand the importance of moving to adopt the hate speech policy in order to address concerns brought to you by MCPS students. I appreciate the administration's readiness to develop an implementation plan, as well as regulations to guide implementation. I heard your additional suggestions to be addressed in these regulations and recommend a review and revision of the existing guidance documents to support the Student Code of Conduct and Employee Handbook in order to address the following concerns that you raised. Principals having the appropriate guidance to respond to hate speech being accurately coded and tracked in the reporting system, safeguards and protections in each building for individual students who have been targets of hate speech, staff consequences for not reporting hate speech, and staff and student rights and regarding due process and appeals. I found Dr. Bregan's clarification of the Supreme Court's use of the phrase substantially disrupts as it applies to hate speech occurring in places and context outside of the school to be very helpful, and believe including this explanation as part of regulations would be helpful to others. And I very much appreciate Ms. Woodsetzer's explanation of the role that she and Ms. Wright have played in the response to reports of hate speech. However, I have been unable to find this role explicitly described in MCPS guidance documents. If such written guidance does not already exist, I suggest that as part of the development of regulations, the administration make explicit to school and division administrators how they can call on the Equity Department for assistance regarding a complaint of hate speech, and what services its Director and Administrator of Equity and Compliance can provide. Likewise, as part of the regulations, I suggest that the role of the Director of Student Support and Interventions be made clear regarding the services and supports to principals in response to student behavior. Thank you for adopting the hate speech policy, for your support in developing regulations and a plan of implementation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Borelski. And our next speaker is Anna Dalton.
Good evening. I'm Anna Dalton. I have a degree in social studies, secondary education. I didn't teach in the school district, but I did send some young men through it from Price's Fork to Blacksburg Middle School to Blacksburg High School, and that other four-year school. But of course, my children had an advantage. I went to the dialogue on race, and I got to hear Dr. Warney Reed provide us with a lot of numbers, and the numbers were appalling. The numbers indicating that Black students doing significantly less well in reading, in science, in math, and also graduation rate. I mean, I was appalled. It's appalling that such a wonderful school district could fail. And I have to say, I listened to numbers for about 5 hours, but when it was all said and done, I'm going, whoa, this is terrible. This sounds like we may have created an instance of a hostile learning environment for our students and our teachers, leading up to a situation where Black students are failing significantly different. And it's not COVID, which I thought was interesting watching the tables. I did math, so I like charts. And the chart for white students right across the board was not affected by COVID, the COVID years. However, the Black student population significantly was across the board. And you're going, whoa, I mean, that does not make sense. You got to do better. You got to do better. This is serious. These are our kids. My kids aren't in school now, but they're all my kids. They're all our kids. And we have to look after them. I'm a nana, and yes, they're all our kids. Please do something, and do it soon.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dalton. And as our last speaker signed up for public address, we'll move on to consent items. If no one wishes to move an item out of consent, we will consider these items approved. Financial reports. Do I have a motion to approve the payment of the bills as presented?
So moved.
Any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitchery?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
7 in favor.
We'll now move to the report from the superintendent, Dr. Bragan.
Thank you, Vice Chair Purcell. As February begins, we recognize and celebrate Black History Month in our schools. This is a time for our students, staff, and community to honor the achievements, contributions, and resilience of Black Americans throughout history. In our classrooms, students will engage in meaningful lessons, discussions, and activities that highlight the impact of Black leaders, innovators, and change makers. We encourage our students to reflect upon the past, celebrate the present, and be inspired for the future. This month presents an opportunity for all of us to learn, grow, and celebrate together. We look forward to reporting out on these activities at our March board meeting of all that's taken place in our schools. The second thing I would like to read is a proclamation and a certificate of recognition from our governor, of the great Commonwealth of Virginia. School Board Appreciation Month. Whereas school board members are elected or appointed to represent the interests of students, teachers, parents, and other stakeholders. And whereas school board members play a vital role in ensuring that students across the Commonwealth have access to high quality, rigorous education and are best positioned to uphold the educational excellence in Virginia schools. And whereas school boards are the governing bodies responsible for the oversight, success, transparency, effectiveness, and outcomes of school systems across the Commonwealth. And whereas local school board members work for their community's parents, businesses, educational professionals, and other community members to execute a shared vision of success for all students. And whereas these decisions affect the present and future lives of children and chart a path to prepare all students to be productive workers in the Virginia economy, informed and engaged citizens in our pluralistic democracy, and responsible and good neighbors in our communities. And whereas School Board Appreciation Month acknowledges the contributions, dedication, and service of Virginia's local school board members. Congratulations, all of you, and thank you for all that you do. The next thing I'd like to talk about is, it came up at a recent board meeting that there was a question asked, why didn't we put any increases in the proposed budget for our costs for gas and diesel fuel for the upcoming school year? And one of the reasons is that we anticipate creating our own fuel tanks, 4 of them throughout the county, and purchasing our own fuel from a cooperative and getting it in bulk, so it'll be cheaper for us in the long run. We have an RFP that went out. It's come back right now, and we're working on them to negotiate prices and some particulars related to the procurement process for Virginia. And we will present that to the school board in an upcoming meeting, most likely the early meeting in March. But what we're anticipating is our fuel savings to be estimated annually at between $200,000 and $400,000, obviously depending on what the cost of fuel is at that time and the utilization. And we look forward to making this difference. And again, this is something that's come up with our transportation director, an idea, as opposed to doing what we do now, which is where all of our drivers, whether you're driving a automobile, one of our fleet, or a bus, you have a card and you go to the local gas stations and fill up, and some of them we get a discount, some of them we don't, but it will save us a substantial amount of money if we can buy those in bulk, and we look forward to doing that. And that's why in the budget we didn't put any increase for the price of gas or diesel, and we will bring that proposal to the school board when we're ready to ask you to vote on it in the very near future. One other thing I wanted to share, and this is one of the behind-the-scenes things that nobody hears about, nobody talks about, but it impacts our district greatly. I had the opportunity last week to go to our annual meeting for our prescription benefits manager, which many people may not even know what that is. But a little over a year ago, we decided to switch from our Anthem provider for our prescription benefits. They still do our medical, and go with what's called the prescription benefits manager, and the company's called MedImpact. And at the time, they said we could save you a significant amount of money in your prescription costs for all your employees that have, coverage within a division. And they promised us they would save us $2 million. Our spend on prescription costs for the division on an annual basis is approximately $4 million. And we are self-insured, so we basically cover that cost for all of the employees. And at the annual review meeting about a week and a half ago, they met that number. Our current costs over that year from October of 2023 to September of 2024 was a little under $2 million. So you're like, okay, that's great, $2 million, you saved that, what does that mean? That means a lot for our community and for our division. It enabled us this year to provide dental coverage through Delta Dental for all of our families, our employees as well as their families, at no charge to the employee. And it also enabled us for 2 years in a row to not have any employee increases for their health benefits costs. And that's significant in a time when the trends are between 7 and 10% increases annually for medical coverage and for medical bills and things like that. So I point that out to you all because, one, it's something I think we should be proud of, and two, Ms. Bland is the Director of Finance, and since her team's taken over there a little over a year ago, they've done a lot of these kind of behind-the-scenes initiatives that maybe you don't hear about, maybe you don't know about, but have a profound impact on the district. So I wanted to shout out to Ms. Bland and her team. I just wanted to share that publicly. And that's all I have, Vice Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bragan. We'll move on to a capital project transfer. Do I have a motion to authorize a request to the Board of Supervisors for a capital project transfer of $26,937 to the 2024-2025 school operating budget?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you for the motion and the second. Any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Motion passes. Moving on to the dual language immersion program. The administration presents the dual language immersion program for approval. An update on this program was presented at the December 3rd, 2024 board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the dual language immersion program as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Or motion passes, any discussion? Or wait, do I need to call the roll? Sorry.
I think Ms. Franklin wanted to say something.
Question.
Okay.
So, do we have teachers lined up for the program, or where are we at with that?
We don't have teachers specifically assigned to it yet, but we are working with a provider that will get us the teachers if and when we move forward. The next step in this process is obviously we're going to budget for it, and then shortly thereafter, I believe we already have the meeting scheduled towards the end of February to meet with community members and solicit interest. That will be, will formalize exactly how many people we have in the program and whether we have to have a lottery or not. But we don't have the teachers currently assigned, but we are working with a provider that will get us those teachers if we cannot find them internally. And we're 100% confident we'll have enough staff. You're welcome.
Anyone else? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Motion passes. Moving on to the retired school security officers. The administration presents the retired school security officer plan for approval. An update on this program was presented at the January 21st, 2025 board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the retired school security officer plan as presented?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
Okay, so I will be voting yes for this, but I still have concerns, like I stated at our last meeting, that this doesn't snowball into us having our own law enforcement department, because that impact would be huge. And our job is to educate students, and we need to keep them safe also. But we have a community that also is responsible for helping us keep students safe. And I hope that that doesn't turn into, again, our own security or police department for the school system.
Anyone else? Ms. Parton?
So I'm going to be voting yes, of course. And so I'm going to say it again, like I've always said. Safety is one of my priorities and should be all of our priorities, not just for our children and our students, but for our faculty and staff and administration as well. And as you can see, and you've seen on the news every night, things aren't getting any better, and things are getting worse. So I would rather have someone in a building than rather not have anybody at all. So I would rather have an SSO there if we are not able to obtain an SRO until we are at a point where it's feasible for us to get our SRO. So I just want to put that extra layer of safety there because I want all of our schools and all of our students to feel safe so they can learn and thrive and not be afraid to come to school.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yeah, so I'll be voting yes. I agree with Ms. Franklin's assessment. We need to make sure that we're not having our own police force. Also, the governing bodies that are in charge of funding law enforcement need to be held accountable, and all of the municipalities in the county that are not currently able to provide SROs to the schools in their municipalities should think about helping out the Board of Supervisors, or the Board of Supervisors should have discussions with them on how this gets funded. Of course, in the county itself, that's covered by the Board of Supervisors already, but voters should also hold their local county or local municipalities accountable for recovering these costs.
Mr. Hudson, do you have a comment?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Purcell. I'll be voting yes as well. I definitely believe this is an important program. Our SROs are important in our schools. They provide a lot of essential functions, and we need to keep that support going. And if that means we have to do SSOs, then I'm in favor of that. Thank you.
Thank you. I also plan to vote yes. I echo Ms. Franklin and Dr. Roundtree's concerns as well. Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitchery?
Abstain.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 abstain.
Motion passes. Next up is Policy 1-2.5, Compensation and Expenses. The administration will provide a revised Policy 1-2.5, Compensation and Expenses for approval. Do I have a motion to approve the amended Policy 1-2.5 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
So this is our first reading of this. Is it appropriate for us to vote on the first reading?
Yeah.
Well, we just did, didn't we?
That's what I have in front of me.
Yeah, so, first, yeah. Typically, whenever we bypass the second reading, it's after we have had long and timely discussions on a policy, and we need to just move forward, but with the first reading of this, I would think we should wait.
Since I did the motion, I will move to amend it or strike it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I second the amendment.
Until the second reading. Do we need to vote on that?
Nope, you just removed it from the.
Okay. But I thought we had to vote on to remove it, okay? And I'll just start, huh? Okay. Okay, so if it's first reading and we're just going to have conversation or discussion about it, just so our captive audience knows what we're talking about. It's about the school board member compensation and benefits, and I'll just speak for myself. I've been on the board this year 20 years, and we've had one raise. And it was literally, when I got on the board, none of us run for what you get paid because it's nothing. But as we have grown as a board through the years, last month we had, I'm not sure how many meetings. I think when we were up hiring the superintendent, I think we had 23 meetings that month. Well, when you start having meetings like that, it becomes a job. It's no longer just a position on a board, in my opinion. And we take a lot of time away from our families. We take a lot of time. We have to take off work. We've got a board retreat coming up, and I know myself, I have no paid days off, and I'll have to just eat half a day of work. No, well, actually a day and a half because I work Saturdays. And we are willing to do it, but it does help to have some compensation. And we did, and I don't know, a kind of quick look on some of the surrounding counties, and all of them are extremely higher paid than we are. But our policy did not allow us to get a change in that, except for when the majority of the board is elected, which is not what our state guidance is. So what we're trying to do is align our policy to be with our state policy, which says that you can vote a raise when there's at least 2 people, am I correct by saying that, up for election. So that way we can go ahead and approve some sort of a higher compensation to what we get. Which I most definitely, first, second, or third reading will vote yes.
Can I ask a question? So I see here the school board member compensation and benefits. Am I missing something? Because we did talk about amending the policy so it aligned. Is there a second document there?
No, this is it. We Dr. Getchie, we discussed it with, we were working on the agenda with the chair and vice chair. What we did was we went back and looked at what the VSBA recommends. And this is their policy, and it's very Spartan, as you note. We didn't just make a change, but what it does say is our policies align with what the state expectations in the state code is. So if the state code changes or something, this is automatically aligned. So that was the thought. So it basically says that we will follow the state code for compensation and for benefits.
I see.
And pretty much that's it. It doesn't elaborate on much other things and specify that.
Okay. I guess I was confused because I thought the actual policy was being revised, but no.
It would be replaced with this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, is there a second document? Is there a second document? Or is it just this? I see. Okay. Okay. Right, I understand. It wasn't clear to me that this was just wholesale replacing the policy rather than just revising it. Okay.
I think the rationale is that the simplicity says that we're complying with state code, and it allows us to be evergreen and not have to revise the policy continuously. We hadn't revised it since 2004, and we were very, very off from where state code is currently.
Right. Okay, thank you.
As a question, it's referencing state code 1950 as amended. If ever that code is amended, do all those numbers stay the same so that it's still referencing the right thing?
I would imagine if the code changes, we should probably change that reference, right? It would be different.
Okay, but then we'd have to have a vote to change the numbers.
Correct.
Anyway.
So you can't win for losing. I think that's what you're saying.
Yep. But hope. Yeah.
With that being brought up, would there be a way, because we are adopting the state policy rather than revising ours, that if the state policy got updated, ours would automatically update, or we would still need to change it to reflect?
Well, if the code changed, we would be in line with the code. If the policy changes, we would change our policy.
Okay,
right?
so
This is only a guide from the VSBA, but it's referenced in the code. If the Code of Virginia changes, this policy would still be in effect because we're aligned to whatever the present code is. I think, Dr. Roundtree, your question was the reference would be different if, right, if
That
the
was my
number
question,
changed. Yeah.
is if the reference would change.
Mr. Hudson, did you have any comments?
Yeah, thanks for that. Just to be clear for board awareness, during agenda prep, we chose to go ahead and put this on as an action in case the board wanted to go ahead and approve it, considering it is a pretty straightforward change that gets us in compliance with CSBA guidance and state code. And so that way the policy would be approved, and the administration could move forward with the budget based on that. However, obviously, we can table that vote, which I believe is what you guys did tonight, which was fine. Seemed like that was an easier course of action than not having it as an action and then trying to turn it into an action if the board chose to do that. So yeah, just for context there, that was the only real rationale there. But I appreciate the administration's efforts on this. I think getting us in compliance with the state code on this, which would give us more flexibility than the outdated policy that we had, is a good thing.
Well, so I believe the Code of Virginia probably would not change. They would just do amendments to it. And going back to first and second readings, part of the reason why we do 2 readings is to give the public a chance to chime in on things that we have in front of us that will affect the community. So that's why we shouldn't really jump too fast to do approvals on first readings.
Okay, so we've tabled this motion and we'll return to it at a later date. Moving on, fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. Next, we have the 2025-2026 budget for discussion. Angie Bland, Director of Finance, and Trevor Bennett, Budget and Finance Manager, will be available for questions. This is information only and no action is expected.
Could you pull that screen up? Yeah. I was going to say that's pretty small. Yeah, basically, what we have up on the screen there, if you could see it, is the discussion we had last week and the items that we wanted to include. We brought to the school board what the costs would be for those, and the ones that the board said to move forward with, they're included in that budget. And that reflects the total budget there. It comes out to $154,178,200. And that would require us to have an additional ask of the Board of Supervisors of about $7.5 million.
Board, are there any questions for?
I just have one question for clarification. I was thinking about it after our last meeting. I think it might be helpful for people to understand. So I know that we're reducing the steps for our salaries. And one of the things that might be helpful for people to understand is about compression, because we use that term and people might not understand what's meant by that. So, I asked about the differential, because one of the things that I heard is that I've heard, there are employees who've been here for 10, 15, 20 years. Does this adjustment help those employees? Can you just talk a little bit about salary compression and how the change of our scale to fewer steps addresses those concerns?
Sure, absolutely. We can both pitch into that. First, compressing the scales, the majority of our pay scales have 30 to 31 steps.
Ms. Bland, just move closer to the mic.
Yes, absolutely. Is this better? So taking these individual salary scales and condensing those to 15 steps does a couple of things. First, taking the beginning scales compressing those, for instance, step 0 to step 2, will allow for beginning salaries to help us in recruitment purposes. It will, increase the starting salaries, definitely help with human resources in those efforts to hire for those positions. As well as you do that, employees at times feel like it takes them 30 years to get to that final step. This will increase, they will increase their chances of reaching the top scale. That's very important to a lot of employees to reach the top of that pay scale. So that this will allow them to do that in a much shorter time. Also doing that, we have some pretty big gaps between salary steps. This is going to condense that and allow those, peers to get in closer and allow them to move up collectively.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
So I sat down with Ms. Bland and Trevor and got a better idea of how this was working and to make sure all of our employees who were eligible and on a scale were going to be compressed to the 15 years. So that is going to happen. But when you do a compression like this, there will be folks who will get increases, and then there will be folks who won't get increases because of the steps that they are on. They will still get the 3% proposed increase, but there will be gaps in there because of just the steps that folks are on. Eventually, they will catch up, and it won't take as many years to get there. So.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for all the work with the budget. Just because it's a budgetary issue now, I'd just like to bring back to our organizational meeting on June 7th that we as a board agreed to be committed to non-discrimination and anti-harassment, to nurture an environment of inclusiveness, and prohibit discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, political affiliation, gender identity, pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical condition, age, marital status, disability, or status as special disabled veterans. Unless we've changed our decision on that, I want to make sure that we are committed to this, as this can have budgetary effects in our current climate with our federal funding of grants, by our decisions on supporting all of these categories that we have. I, for one, am committed to it no matter what.
Ms. Bond or Ms. Parton, do you have any questions or comments? Mr. Hudson?
I don't have any comments. Thank you.
I just wanted one clarification. I was just looking at the budget planning calendar at the end of the document. And so we have a joint meeting on February 24th at the Board of Supervisors meeting where the school board is presenting the budget. And is that you, Dr. Bragan, or?
So February 24th is a joint meeting?
That's what it says on the calendar. It says, school board presents fiscal year proposed operating budget to Board of Supervisors at a joint meeting.
I don't think that's the joint meeting.
Okay.
The 24th is when the Board of Supervisors has asked me to present the budget that the school board had approved. I thought our joint meeting was in March. I could be wrong. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay, I just, I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, that might be a mistake on the calendar. I'm confident that February 24th is when the Board of Supervisors asked myself and Ms. Bland and the team to present the board-approved budget for them. They will then work on their final budget and then set the tax rate.
Right. Thank you so much. Okay, if there aren't any, oh, Ms. Franklin.
Yeah. So, yeah, my eyes were crossed going over these figures time and time again and flipping back from meeting to meeting to find
what was what at the last meeting and what's been changed. So could you please give, for nobody's but for me, what is changed from the last budget on the, what was that, the 28th? We meet so much anymore. The last regular workshop, what was that? Anyway, from that meeting to this meeting. Because I think that, I don't know that I saw the teachers for the dual enrollment, and wasn't sure about the fuel. And anyway, if you could do that, it'd be quicker than me trying to.
Sure. Yeah, the only changes from the last meeting were we removed the Dean of Students, the 2 additional Dean of Students positions, as well as reduced the school board salary increases by half because it wouldn't take effect till January 1st. So those are the only 2 changes.
So everything else is the same?
Yes.
Well, from that prior meeting too, we added the salary enhancement, the compression for all employees, right?
Yeah.
We added the increase in the school nutrition program to ensure that we had free breakfast and lunch for all those that needed it.
Mm-hmm.
And we added, there was one other thing we talked about.
Yeah.
Help me out. We voted on 3 things, didn't we? Last meeting. That we included the financials in this total summary.
The removal of that position.
Yeah. Those
Addition of the 2 additional nurses.
That's right, the nurses, and those items were included in the budget that was presented last meeting, but those were approved by the board. So
The nurses are still here?
Yes, the nurses are in this budget.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Thank you so much, Mr. Bennett and Ms. Bland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work. Next is the MCPS staffing update. Dr. Amanda Widener will present the MCPS staffing update. This is information only. No action is expected.
Good evening, Madam Vice Chair, school board members, Dr. Bragan. I have information for the month of February regarding staffing, including vacancies and our progress in filling those vacancies. So the first slide just gives you an overview of our current vacancies by category, comparison to the total number of positions, and also that third column gives you the percentage, what percentage of vacancies does that represent for each of those categories. Dr. Guitry, you had asked for some more comparative data. So the last column I've included there is I went to the VDOE and they have a vacancy dashboard. So this is data based on last year. We don't have current data, but that just kind of gives you an idea of what the vacancy rate for those positions in the state, across the state, was for last year. So you can see there's some similarities, like our current administrator vacancy rate is very similar to what the state was last year. Our certified instructional positions is actually much lower. Special education is somewhat similar, and you can see that across the state we are definitely seeing a critical shortage among school psychologists and SLPs, which have been some of our hardest positions to fill. And then among classified staff, the numbers are similar. So I hope that information, that comparative information, is helpful to you. These are our current vacancies compared to last month. So you can see there's some change for a few of them. And again, I'll go through each of those on a slide so I can break them down and you can see where we've seen changes. So some have gone up slightly and some have gone down. Take a look at our administrator positions. We were very happy. We filled our Director of Secondary Education. Dr. Lori Comer is in that position now. However, that did create a new vacancy. So we have an open principal position now at Eastern Montgomery Elementary School that we are working to fill. We are still reviewing applications for the Administrator of English Language Arts. And we do have a candidate who was approved at the last board meeting for our Administrator of CTE, and that person will be starting next week. These are our current certified vacancies, and as I mentioned, we have 10 of these. The first 3 listed on there, those are vacancies that we've had for most of the school year. However, we are bringing 3 candidates tonight for approval. The IT DART position, we have a candidate recommended there. Our health and PE teacher position, which has been open at Montgomery Central all year, we have a candidate there. We've had 2 recent vacancies, a resignation of a STEM teaching position at Auburn Elementary School, which we have a licensed long-term substitute teacher in right now. And we also had a recent resignation of a science teacher at Blacksburg High School. However, we do have a candidate recommended to fill that position. These are our special education vacancies. Again, many of those, the first 3 have been on there for most of the year. The good news is that we have made some progress recently in some of our very difficult to fill positions. So at the last meeting, we approved a school psychologist who has started. We also have a candidate we're bringing forward to fill our last school psychologist position. This will be for next year. Speech pathologist, we have recently filled a position. We have another candidate to bring forward tonight to fill another one of those positions, which will reduce those vacancies to 2. And we are actively looking at applicants to fill the remaining positions for next year. Special education teachers, you know, we have added a lot of new positions this year, so we still have several vacancies. However, we are now looking to next year, and we do have a recommended candidate for one of those open positions at Auburn Elementary School. And then our most recent vacancy that we have now is a very recent retirement. So we have an occupational therapist position that is now open because of a recent retirement. So those are our special education vacancies. I've added a new slide at this point in the year. We're actively looking to fill positions for next year. So I will update you each month going forward so that you can see what positions that we have started filling for next year. So currently we have approved 1 special education teacher candidate, 2 more that will come before you tonight, and then a school psychologist. So I'm hoping each month that you'll see, I'll have more of those to report out to you. Moving on to our classified side, these are our operational vacancies. Our biggest area of need continues to be custodians. So we have 1 candidate to bring forward tonight, and there are other candidates in the hiring process. We've been doing some extra advertising here. We do have a pop-up recruitment fair tomorrow. So we've invited all of our current applicants. We're hoping to fill some positions there. And then in the interim, to deal with these vacancies, our facilities department has contracted out and brought in some extra help on the weekends to do some deep cleaning in our buildings. Of our 3 HVAC positions that have been open, we do have a candidate to fill 1 of those. We have filled a technology systems analyst, and there are 4 open bus driver positions. We have 2 candidates who have completed the training, and so they're ready to be recommended to be full-time drivers. And then we have 2 other candidates who are being recommended to start the driving training. On the instructional side of our classified positions, again, our greatest need continues to be filling para positions. So we do have a candidate recommended there with a couple of additional candidates that are in the hiring process. We have a number of lunch recess aide positions that are open, but we do have 3 candidates that are recommended with 3 more who are in the hiring process. And then we have filled our testing coordinator assistant position at Auburn High School. When we look at the diversity of our workforce currently, 15.2% of all of our new employees this year identify as minority employees. And then if we look across all of our current employees, 8% of all of our employees identify as minority. And then lastly, I just want to give you an overview of substitute information. We currently have 450 active substitutes. As you can see, our fill rates for December and January have, the numbers have either stabilized or gone up. So we've had a 93% fill rate for January as well as December. That's really good. That's above the national average. And then we've also seen our para fill rate go up as well. So, and I've broken those down by communities so you can see those numbers. Can I answer any questions for you?
So I don't have a question, but it's that statement I keep bringing up. So when you look at our pay scales, even with the compression, that's going to help folks reach that top pay quicker, we still have folks who will be making $15, $16, $17 an hour for several years. That's not acceptable. And we go through the same thing year after year. We can't get people, we can't keep people. It's because we're not paying them. So until we do something different, I think the last time we did a big adjustment there was to bring everybody up to $15, and that was a few years ago. We've got to do better, and now's the time to do that, folks. Because sooner or later, those of you who have been here, to be able to attract folks, we have to adjust the scales. We had to do it with bus drivers. We had to do it with our nurses. We had to do it with other folks. We need to do it for everybody. Making $15 an hour, it doesn't get anybody anywhere. But just working and working and working and probably leaving us and going to another job, if not two. So how much energy does that really give them to really give everything that they've got to help us out in the positions that they hold for us? So we've got to do better, plain and simple. Now's the time to do it. So before we approve a budget, I think we should have something in it that is going to support our folks who are barely making, it's not even a living wage, it's a scratching wage.
Well, if I'm recalling correctly, in one of our joint dinners that we had, we brought this up and said that we definitely need to ensure that we are all on the same level of pay as well, the county, the towns, and what we're paying, our groundskeeping staff, our custodial staff. That way they're not, going here and getting $1 more, going there and getting $1 more. We need to all be on the same level and on the same playing field. So most definitely, if we're behind, we need to be, and I would think that they would be in support of that because they wouldn't want that as well. So hopefully that would be something that they definitely would support.
Dr. Getchie?
I'm in agreement. I just wanted to say thank you for pulling in some of that extra data for context. I appreciate it.
Ms. Martin?
Dr. Weiner, thank you so much for all of your time and the information as always. I agree with Ms. Franklin and Ms. Bond, not just because we cannot recruit, but a lot of it is for retention because we might start out with real good people, but if things look better on the horizon, they're not going to stay with us, and we're going to keep having a lot of turnover, and that just makes it even harder on us. So whatever we can do, and our schools can't function without our teachers, yes, but our schools can't function without all of these staff members as well. So we just need to keep that in mind, and we need to get them where they need to be because we get good people, and I hate to lose them, and we end up losing a lot of good people, and it really breaks my heart. So we need to try to figure out a way we can help them out, and we can keep our staff that we want to keep.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yeah, so it was last year that we increased the minimum wage in our school division to $15 from $13 and some change. That was something that I ran a campaign on about parties offering $15 salaries, or $15 hour wages. We do need to continue raising that. We agreed last year that we needed to get that up in the $17, $18 range. If we want to do that this year, we should go ahead and get it done. See what it increases the budget to. As far as the presentation here, thank you for putting it together. Just had a question about the state numbers that you had on there. I think it was slide 2. So spec ed, do we classify psychologists as special education or?
In that category that I've created that I use every month, special education certified, yeah, that includes our special education teacher vacancies, related fields in special education, like our therapists, our occupational therapists, our physical therapists, our school psychologists, our speech language pathologists, and our BCBAs. So, yeah, I have grouped all of those. The state doesn't group them, which is why I broke it out with those numbers there to show that the state breaks it out a little bit differently. So,
Yep. And how big are, how many employees are in each of those classifications, according to the state in our county, special education, speech and language pathologists and psychologists
so what do those numbers represent for the state?
for the county?
Okay, so currently, like SLPs, we have 8 positions. School psychologists, I believe we have 5, and special education teachers, I'd say between 125 and 130.
Okay. So the 6.1% is by far dominating in that special education teachers category.
Yes.
Compared to the 11.2 and 11.8. All right, thank you.
Mr. Hudson, did you have any comments?
No questions. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Widener. Oh, sorry, Ms. Franklin.
So I'm going to throw this out here because we keep saying they need to raise it. And I'll put out that no employee in Montgomery County should make less than $20 an hour. So I'll put it out there and you all do what you want, but that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Ms. Franklin. Thank you so much, Dr. Widener, for putting all this together for us. I just want to echo a through line from Ms. Franklin, Ms. Bond, and Ms. Parton about just having parity with other government employees. That was something that struck me when the sheriff and chief of police from Christiansburg were here a couple of weeks ago, where they said they made sure to stop poaching from each other and just keep the salaries the same so that there wasn't that kind of turnover. And that seems like a very practical thing to do. So thank you so much, Dr. Widener.
You're welcome.
So
Well, we're moving,
sorry, to Ms. Franklin's point, if we want to look at that, we should have the administration let us know what the impact for next meeting as to a $1 increase to the minimum, $2, $3, $4, and $5. That would get us from 15 all the way up to 20 in dollar increments.
So just to clarify, right? So if we look at the school budget as we presented it tonight, we're up on salary enhancements and raises $5 million. So you want us to come back and say what would if we raised the minimum pay for all employees to $20, what would that cost? And then I think I heard you, Dr. Roundtree, say what would it be if we raised $1, $2 for those that are making between 15 and 20? What would the cost be?
Up to 20,
Yeah.
not increase. That was the thought.
We can get you that information.
Or just what the cost is for those sub $20 an hour employees for each dollar increment would work too.
Well, and if I may, why don't we see if we're going to pair, or if that's kind of what I personally think as a board member we should do, why don't we find out the equivalent of salary there, so that way we're not jumping into a different,
That's fair as well.
that way, if that's kind of what we're saying, then we can say, okay, what are you paying, what are you paying?
For the
And let's-
counties and the towns?
Right.
We
And
could do
have
that.
some kind of equivalency opposed to just saying, well, let's just throw this out. Let's take a look at, so that way we truly can kind of speak to what what I've kind of said.
If they're not paying what they should be paying,
Well, and they might be paying 20, I don't know, but.
I don't either, but I'm just saying, our employees are our employees, and, but I hear you.
We'll get that information for the next meeting.
All right, if discussion is complete on our staffing update, Are there any items of unfinished business?
Well, I'll just say, as we heard from the public tonight, folks are looking for a plan and implementation for our hate speech. So I hope that's something we can see coming up soon.
Absolutely.
If there are no other items of unfinished business, we'll move on to new business. Are there any items for new business? Okay, hearing no items for new business, we'll move on to announcements and information. Are there any announcements that board members would like to share? We're going back in.
Penny, bet on the over?
I'd just like to say I'm real proud of everyone that we recognized tonight. Kudos to everyone, all our teachers of the year, and as always, our students of the month. But it's always a joy to see everyone that's done so well in our county.
Yeah, so congratulations to all of our teachers of the year. And I would also like to thank the Dialogue on Race for hosting their summit, their winter summit, 2 weekends ago. Is that right? Yes. It was great information. I was able to attend the part on law enforcement statistical studies, and it was very enlightening. The traffic stops associated with black versus white disparity, nearly 2 to 1 to 3 to 1, depending on the year, of blacks being stopped versus whites when percentages are taken into consideration. The interesting items about the outcomes associated with tickets or warnings, not having disparities between them, but that arrests were drastically different disparity in with a 2 to 1 outcome between whites being arrested versus blacks being arrested, or 50% increase. So that was a great activity, great meeting. So just thank you.
Yeah, again, congratulations to all the teachers. I know that they left. Did I see something on Facebook or the news about one of our middle school students winning like an international choir competition? Does anybody know about that? I was like, this is amazing.
Is that Charlotte Slider, who went to Carnegie Hall?
Yeah, I was like, we had a student from BMS who won an international competition. I was like, we have students doing amazing things. I don't know if anybody knows about, yeah. So when I saw that, I was just like, we've got some amazing students in this division, really. Congratulations.
I'd like to thank Ms. Osborne for our Valentine gifts and school appreciation that she left us. I appreciate that. I know you have a very busy job. To think of us and to take time to do something special for us, thank you.
Thank you, Tosh. Much appreciated.
All right. Well, I'll echo all of your thanks and championing, and yes, thank you, Ms. Osborne, for these special treats. Looking ahead, upcoming school board meetings. I've had my calendar up, and it keeps closing. Our next meeting, our next work session is February 18th, and then our next business meeting after that is March 4th. Now we will move into closed session to discuss personnel matters. Do I have a motion to enter into closed session as authorized by Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia to discuss 4 personnel matters?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Ms. Franklin? Yes. Dr. Gitcher?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Motion passes. All right, we go into closed session. Thank you, everyone.